dragged back into prison, that's right.
Welcome back to What Have You. I'm Rachel Jankovic.
I'm Becca.
We can't. We're gonna lose it this episode.
Oh, you guys, you know who I am.
I was thinking
sorry,
I should start off with a rip of dry coffee. Becca, you look hot. Are you feverish?
Oh my word, you guys! First off, let's talk about the weather.
We are a little confined right now, and the hand of the Lord is heavy upon us.
Heavy. You know the thing about March comes in like a lion and it goes out like a psychotic lion? That's what it's doing.
It is the dreariest, snowiest, hailiest, slushiest, rude day that ever. And
it's kind of rad in its own remarkable way.
Well, when I told you that my policy is to not notice days like this at a certain point, I pretend they don't happen. Well, I noticed today. I can't. This was the kind that you're required to notice.
We're looking out at a visibility of about 6 feet in front of us because it's a thick blizzard. Right
but
now.
Like a real slop tot of a blizzard. Like,
but it's
not
sticking. Look at how much it's sticking.
But
right
only because there's so much of it. It's
it's
too wet to hang around too long.
Yeah.
It's just
so anyway, we popped out
gruesome.
of our home life.
Oh my word. Do you want to hear about my extreme sport of confinement?
Yeah, and then I'm going to tell you about my extreme sport of confinement. So you go first.
I might actually be participating in more than one extreme sport of confinement. Okay. But this one I don't even know how to warm you up for.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so I have to lay the foundation for why this happened. But it's been many years in the making, so whatever.
Right. So there's a build-up.
I was introduced to this concept years ago.
Okay.
It sort of appalled me at the time, sort of interested me, and I've kept it in my knowledge ever since that time. And now we moved into our new house. And when it wasn't like today, it was giving us the questions of, look at all this mud you have. What are you going to do with it? Gardening has become more of a thought.
Yeah.
That has to be on our minds. Mm-hmm. So I've rooted a bunch of lilacs. I have a ton of little lilac starts. I want to get some of your forsythia and do that. I'm trying to working on that. But there's big questions afoot too, because we probably have to rent a little bobcat. I mean, we're not exactly ready to throw a lawn out on it, but it's hard to know what the first move should be, really.
Okay. All right.
But one thing is, because there's been some excavating and stuff, it is farmland, but we probably, whatever we're planting, we're probably going to have to do some soil. You know what I mean? It's every element of this is more stuff to figure out. So who knows why it just felt like the time to strike, and I ordered, probably being a little addle-brained from the confinement, I ordered 2,000 red worms.
As one does. And
I was like, this would be good for Shad and Moses. They'll like to take care of the worms.
They'll have a little herd of pet worms.
Take care of the worms. And so we got the worms with the worm hut. The whole reason for the worms is that they compost faster than any other composting method. And since one thing we are always replete with is garbage, I was like, why not?
Yeah,
why not feed the worms and turn it into good dirt for future plants I hope I have out there sometime.
Solid reasoning.
Cold. It's too cold to put the worms outside, so we have 2,000 red worms.
Surely worms can handle cold temps.
They can, but they would need to be, they would slow down, and we're trying to fire them up.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Well, it's terrifying because I'm not afraid of worms, so there's that. That's good. Okay. But they're little. They're these little red wigglers, so they're fast moving. They move fast, and they are so gross. And it reminds me so. It's like one of these things where I keep having to do this. Like, I'm really trying to do the Jean-Claude Van Damme between the two semis. One which is my own emotions, and the other which is me trying to acknowledge what a neat thing this is God has done. So half the time I'm like, yeah, let's feed these worms, and then the other half of the time I'm like, blah, they're so gross. So 2,000 red worms. It turns out when they come to you in the mail or in a bag, like a cloth bag, which didn't unnerve me too much. I was like, let's just dump this out. There was like some peat in the bag. Okay. With them, we dumped them out into the container. Yeah. And they blobbed out. And the kids, none of us were quite grossed out yet. So we were like, spread them out in their bedding. But it was like this softball size mass of wriggling worms. It was stuck together. Like you couldn't. And it was very grotesque. Since that time, I fed them a chopped up banana, and they're really whizzed up about that. So every time we go by, we lift the lid off, and they don't like the light, so they dig down. So at night, a couple times, we had to leave a light on with the lid off so they wouldn't make a breakout.
Breakout where?
Up the side of the worm house and out.
Like they can get out?
Yeah, it's like if these get out, we have to borrow someone's chicken. I was like, but we have a bird dog, so it really will be like enacting an old folk song.
It'll be like giving a moose a muffin.
The chicken ate the worm, and the dog ate the chicken. Anyways, but they are really, it's amazing. But a little gruesome. We're struggling with our emotions about these worms.
I can see it.
But because they're so excited about where I put the bananas, we put them like kind of under the dirt. And whenever you take the lid off, there's just this like fast-moving worm tangle that dives under the surface over the banana. Word. So what I'm telling you is I'm living my best homesteader life.
Yeah, you are.
Now.
You're like the pioneer extravaganza.
Well, I feel like that was an odd choice of mine
a little
to
bit,
do that, but then I'm like, well, weird. Let's be brave. Let's be the kind of people who aren't afraid of 2,000 red worms. Are we afraid? I think I'm afraid.
Well, today I fertilized my little seedlings because I've got all these little seedlings I planted, and I was reading about, I don't know, the way you do, how people do these things.
Yeah.
And it said fertilize them with a fish and kelp sort of fertilizer. So I got myself a fish kelp thing. Reeks to high heaven. It's not nice. I think it's just pulverized fish.
I wonder why that smells
It's
bad.
not good. So you're putting this dank, dark brown junkus that you mix with water and then pour in. Well, Dottie today, our dog, was freaking out as I was fertilizing all these little things, and she can't stop going past and sniffing my plants to death. And I'm a little worried she's going to eat them.
Well,
she hasn't
I
yet.
have to say that weirdly, this worm hut that we have, so the theory was that I wouldn't have to get so involved with the worms because now that they're settled into the bedding part, you feed them, but then you put another tray on it. The tray has holes in the bottom.
Okay.
So you put more like bedding, like paper towels and stuff. They eat paper towels, paper, cardboard, like weird stuff that they eat. Okay. And you put them in a tray up, and all the worms come up to the food. So what ends up happening as you build it up is that the bottom tray becomes just worm castings, like this, like black, whatever. And then you can take that out and put it on your plants. So you just keep adding compost and the worms move up. So at some point you shouldn't have to be...
When do you move the worms back down to the bottom again?
You don't. You just take the bottom tray out, and they keep going to the top, and it ends. They actually, I believe, go up and down quite a bit. But whatever the case, it's when the bottom layer is totally black because they work through it. Then you take it and add it. But it also has a spigot on the bottom to catch the juices.
No, Rachel.
But interestingly, the juices are such a such a miracle grow bonanza that you have to dilute them before putting them on
it's
plants, or you just burn them right on up.
It's probably like my fish
If I get
kelp.
too grossed out someday, I will probably just release them into the wild. I kind of laugh at myself, like, what is this madness,
That is
Rachel?
too epic.
But there are things that you have to just man up and deal with at some point in your life.
But you don't have to man up and deal with worms. That was a it's a conscious choice you made there.
I think it might not have been. I think it might have been the result of a tight head squeeze of quarantine. That meme that you sent me that said "cute" just died. It's like a fat pioneer lady with a chicken under her arm, and it said "cute" just died. Men want a woman who can catch a chicken now. I'm trying to be that woman.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
They want a woman that can.
Well, I'll tell you how my quarantine time is going. It's very strangely surreal. Like we've all
No, I wake up every day with
bumped off the normal track.
No, every day I wake up with I need an orientation key to the day.
So Knox has been back at our house for a few days, which is really fun. He's doing his online college, just kind of chilling out at our house. So he's doing online college. Jemima's doing online college. Belle's doing online college. And now I have 2 high school students doing high school from afar, and then me trying to teach high school from afar.
Yeah, it's very troublesome.
We don't quite have enough devices. The older 3 all have their own, so that's fine. And then neither Hero nor Judah has their own laptop, so it's basically my laptop shared amongst the 3 of us.
Mm-hmm. Do you still have your old desktop now?
Yeah, but it's so slow that nobody wants to use it. But the thing is then, so what happens is it's like this minefield around the house of, we have the family text, everybody's sending alerts, like, I'm doing my piano lesson via Zoom, the stairs are visible. Then it'll be like, I'm listening to theology, my mic is on, but my camera's off. The next person, it's like, I'm in biology, my camera is on, my mic is off.
Mega, I dare you.
Nobody knows.
My
you
friend,
tiptoe around.
My friend in Paris, and I feel like this is a great human interest story. I quite enjoy it. That the neighbors have started, they agreed on their neighborhood WhatsApp to dress up to take the garbage out. So they're doing like costumes and stuff. But they send each other a video of themselves dramatically taking out the garbage.
Couldn't they all just look out the window?
I thought that's what they were doing, but so far I've seen the videos. But here's my point. I dare you to get a costume, at least like a hat and a fake beard, and see how many of your kids' classes you can make an appearance in one day.
Well, and I could. The other day I walked out into the kitchen in my bathrobe. Did I already say this on the podcast?
Oh, yeah, I think you did.
Stunned flat because I'm looking right at Jemima's whatever.
But I'm saying is you
her
should
camera
take
was
advantage
off,
of
so
this
that was
time,
good.
Becca.
Well, I should. You're right. But the thing is,
sombrero.
It's very hard to thread the needle at home right now because, but it is really kind of fun. Everybody's just, everybody is being super diligent, doing tons of work.
We went back to school.
Mm-hmm. In a manner
allegedly,
of speaking.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people have always thought I'm a homeschooler, and now I am. So, throwing them for a loop. But what happened is that my kids are binge homeschooling because...
Oh, man, yeah.
Blair, at least, was like, I don't know, towards the end of the day yesterday, she was like, I'm still on my morning work. And I was like, you are? Because she's very capable, she's nailing it up. Turned out by the evening that she'd done the whole week's morning work. She misunderstood the pacing.
Yeah.
She was like, man, I am slammed with this stuff. So she got a little ahead on that. And I was like, did you binge homeschool? But I think they're actually so relieved because we had this weird dynamic, which was a 2-week spring break. They got extended a week.
Yeah.
So we actually had 3 weeks of no school, which is longer than like ever.
Yeah.
And then coming back
and then
to not real school.
We're doing it from afar. And I'm struggling with, so it's actually kind of fun. I think that this is like, I feel like it's like all of us are getting a hard prune right now.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I think there's going to be a lot of new growth, actually. Like,
I hope so.
I think there's going to be some interesting stuff. But anyway, I'm trying to figure out this platform that we're using. So we're not doing on, like, it's not live, like lectures. It's not on Zoom or anything, but it's, we can record videos and then put them up. So I have to record all these little sort of 10-minute, this is the video where I'm talking about the Tale of Two Cities reading that you did last night, whatever. But I'm trying to stay a few days ahead for people like Blair if they want to do the whole thing in a binge. The problem is you do a 10-minute video and it takes like an hour to upload. So I haven't gotten my system down here.
Yeah.
It's a little, but meanwhile though, we have had a much longer break than ever, and all my trips were canceled. All Ben's trips were canceled, so we're actually getting a lot more stuff done around the house. So I sent you the picture, but I'm putting decals, like water slide decals, onto 800 tiles right now.
Yeah, that's
which
gonna be
I
really
will
fun.
then fire for my kitchen, and they're making me so happy. It's really, really, really
We
fun.
have a few random. We're doing the backsplash in our kitchen also. Getting that done. Hopefully getting the little piece of counter desk finished that we meant to do that we had not done yet.
Yeah.
And putting the backsplash up, and then we're building the chimney in the kitchen to cover
So fun.
our hood exhaust,
Yeah.
which was so far looking like a dryer vent just sort of on the wall in the kitchen. And so we're working our way around the
very
kitchen,
fun.
kind of doing the things that needed to be did.
I know. We're making some headway.
God has been very kind to us in that so far this is not, there are a lot of people in our community that this is threatening their
Yeah.
a lot more than we have not been threatened in that way. And hopefully, I love that we have this house because we want it to be useful. But we're hoping that when we're allowed to see people again,
Yeah.
we can make it more useful than
Right.
it is currently being just a mercy to us that we're not all on top of each other.
I know.
But it's weird. In that I do feel like, well, if you're going to get stuck somewhere, I'm glad I'm stuck there and in the country.
I know. It really
And
is.
if
it's
anything ever justified having too many craft supplies, this is it.
Yeah, that is so true. Well, I was just so happy that my decals all came because I had them all printed in Canada, and then they closed the border, and I was having that, no, don't
Right.
lose my decals, because it makes it sound like I'm putting stickers on tiles. It's not that, guys.
You already explained that, I think.
Did I?
I think you did because you explained it's just a way of getting. It's a
I
way
think
of
that
getting
was in the one we deleted. Doesn't
Oh, really?
matter.
It's a way to get the glaze onto the tiles.
It's
in the
China
pattern.
paint. So I just bought cheap Home Depot tiles, and then this is China paint, and then you fire it, and it fires into the glaze. So then it's like
So
in there. And there's
so many people I see have been making sourdough.
Oh,
I'm so
mine died. so many people, but not me. We think we went wrong by sticking it up with the whiskey bottle in the cupboard. We think that that's what happened.
I think I left mine on a shelf, like in a visible place. But I
We're
know
gonna try again.
We're
We're gonna try again.
So
I got very put out by it because it looked gross. Like, we started it off and it looked bad. And I mean it's obviously it's gonna be a thing, right? I mean, I've seen sourdough starter before, but this got kind of like a dark crust on top and a black spot in the middle.
yeah, that the molding, you're not gonna want it.
I don't know if it was molding. It was just one. It was like it. Anyway,
Try again.
Then
Try again.
we fed it and it did nothing. So we're going to have to try again. Yeah. Oh, I can also state confidently for the record that chickpeas do not make yogurt.
Good.
We've been there. We've traveled that path.
Good to
It
know.
doesn't. It doesn't.
Good to know. So we have. Trying to think what else is on my mind here. Oh, I was thinking. I thought that this was a fun idea, and you all should probably do it with your own friends, because the last time I ever made a friendship quilt, I was a wee child, and it was a sunbonnet Sue.
I was going to say Holly Hobby,
Yeah,
but Sunbonnet Sue, yeah. I remember
Where-
when you did that.
And and it was really fun. It was an older lady who coordinated it, and we all made the little blocks. But the fun part about it, you know, it's an older concept, right, where everybody makes a set amount of blocks, and then you trade the blocks, and then you have much more diversity of fabric and whatever. And sometimes people embroider their name on it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I just thought that this is a strange historic moment when we're all homesteaders. We're all not seeing each other. And I was like, it'd be fun if we came out of it with an actual souvenir of that time. And the other element of this that I think is fun, we happen to have a lot of new families here right now. Not that they all want to make a friendship quilt, but the thing that we're trying to do is come up with reasons to be fellowshipping in ways that we do not normally need to bother, because you run into people at Winco, you see them at church, you're in the carpool. You know, right now we are not seeing each other so much.
No, we're not.
And so we thought it would be fun, because I think we'll make a WhatsApp group or whatever about it. So basically, there can be some camaraderie of like helping with sewing tips or talking about things. Like there's a conversation to be had in that. And then at the end of the time, we will all have a quarantine quilt. It seems like a kind of a fun thing to do. Probably people have enough fabric scraps to do stuff. So
I've got bolts and bolts of my old quilting fabric down in the basement that it's actually quilting fabric that I designed.
Are you going to donate some to me?
No.
She's just waving it in front of my face. Waving it.
I do have a bunch.
How about I say this? Why don't you join the quarantine quilting?
Well, I saw it and I thought, ooh, I should join that. And then I thought, ooh, what are you thinking, Becca?
You're thinking you want to have a quarantine quilt.
Well,
do it. Beck, do it.
Well,
when else in your whole life would you have time? Like, you actually
No, I don't have time. Here's the problem. This is what I was saying to somebody, and it might have been you. But I'm like,
Clearly I wasn't listening.
I would have to be locked in my house for a really, really long time before I ran out of pressing jobs to get done. It's like I
have that too, but the reality is that my whole life, it's an elaborate thought, but I was going to say that the way that I pace my own focus and attention is like I always have a lot that needs to be done. Mm-hmm. You add things to the mix as you finish things, and you keep it kind of always.
I think the thing
my biggest problem right now has been that my normal rhythm of life is not happening, which is making me not clear on when I fall into a malaise of not being sure what I'm doing. Like when I'm like, what are we doing? Because all the ways that I would usually handle stuff, it's just weird that stuff is not there that usually would be. Because things like, I'm going to go run this stuff to Goodwill, and when I come back, I'll be ready to hit this again.
Oh, sure.
And you're like, oh no, I have a pile of stuff I don't need. And I don't know what to do with it because I can't take it anywhere. And then you're like, I can't tell
Feed
the kids.
Feed it to the worms.
Yeah, I can't tell the kids. You have my old food processor motor? That would be good. The worms would love that.
Yeah. This is how we return it to the earth.
Yeah. So that my compost will be amazing. And the other thing is that we do a lot of our regular rhythm of life is around having a lot of people over. That's true. The way that we're like, let's get ready for having people, that's a rhythm that we usually have that we don't have right now. And it's not like that's throwing us off that much, except it does because it's like that's how you pace your life.
Well, I too have a weird time out from that because, I don't have soup night. I have like everything I had a whole list of big events that were going to be at my house over the next few weeks, and right now they're not. And so
did I. We were going into a spring that was going to be a breathtaking scorcher of a busy spring, and
now it's like, ooh. But the thing is
have you considered tatting?
In the thick of my life, when everything is like blowing like a blizzard, I have before thought, what would be so nice is if we could just have a timeout where like you could actually get caught up on some stuff, and then you could step back in. And then you're like, but when? That's impossible. When would that ever happen? But I'm being given it right now.
Yeah.
Like, right now I have
Isn't
a
that
great
so fun?
big parentheses. And so I feel like this is a time when I actually can get a bunch of things done.
This is the thing I'm really excited about, because as much as I think I just want to be clear that when I want to talk, which I do want to talk about the silver lining of this moment, it is not because we don't think that this has been a profound and devastating hardship for a lot of people. Like,
true.
I'm well aware of that. That's not, but I don't feel like there's fruit in dwelling on that. Obviously, we want to help those people who are really being, whose lives are really being hurt by this. But on the other side of things, I don't want to neglect to see how this hard providence is creating this big opportunity. Somebody jokingly said, can you imagine how much fun it is to be stuck at home with a feminist right now? And I was like, isn't that true? And the element that is the revival of domestic arts, and the reality that even if it's an artificial moment that is making, or a weird moment that is making people's homes seem important, it is still doing that.
Let me just
and that
say,
desire to be like, it's actually more fun if you make good soup from scratch than just,
But I think a lot of people are not seizing the moment, and they are seizing the moment to instead binge out on wildly inappropriate things on Netflix.
Garbaggio?
Yeah, like...
No, don't do it.
I don't know. But see, okay.
You say what you're going to say.
Well, I was going to say that I do realize that my home situation is not a normal one, because that's what I mean. Like, I would have to be stuck in the house forever before I got so bored that I was looking around for something to fill the time with. But I was looking at somebody's house that was for sale, like there were just all the different pictures of the rooms, and it was so, I don't even know what the word is. It was like kind of a little bit bleak in terms of there was not much in it, and everything was new and finished, and there was nothing. And I was like, oh my word, I would be bouncing off the walls if I was stuck in that for 3 days. And so I completely get people who are in like really finished situation. I'm just like, I don't know. I have a lot of shoveling to do before I get to that point where I'm like, oh no, what can I do to fill my afternoon? I'm not there. It's not.
Yeah, I don't think to me, it's not actually a situation of not having enough to do. Sometimes it's just it's like you feel like you can get in that mood that's a little Cinderella. No, not Cinderella. Cinderella is all the women trying to get their... Oh, why did I bring up Cinderella?
That's a good question.
I was trying to say where you're being like overly picky, like nothing fits. But that's not Cinderella. But my point is, disregard the fact that I said something about Cinderella.
Put Cinderella on the simmer burner.
I think what I meant, I'm not coming back to her though.
You don't know. We might.
I think what I meant is that sometimes you're like, is this what I want to do? No, I can't do that right now. Or is this what I want to do? It's not the shortage of things to do. It's the shortage of energy to blast into any of them when it all feels kind of indifferent and doesn't matter. I'm not sure.
No,
Maybe
and
not.
I definitely have hit the skids in a few weird places where I'm like, it's where there's no it's like there's no structure, which makes you feel like there's no rhythm, which makes you feel like
without a rhythm, can you even find the beat?
Like you're just kind of wandering around a little bit, feeling a little bit mopey for no reason.
Well, okay, I do this thing. This is just me. I don't know that all of you do this. If I feel myself like there are places where I think, what would be really great right now is if I was super motivated to get all the kids motivated to do this job, to clean this up, to get everything put together. Sure. But sometimes I can tell that I am personally too fragile for that. Yeah, okay. That if I was to embark on that endeavor, I would probably get too
Shrill.
Yeah, like, and I decide before even launching that program that is not a good idea, and we're going to do it a different way, which is more like, hey, everybody, I want you to clean for 20 minutes. Instead of me being like, this isn't good enough, and let's do this, because I can tell that I could just be too involved. So, like, if I get involved, I can be too involved right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try to stay a little aloof. I'm going to try to back myself up a little bit and not get all cheesed off at people.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing more of that than I think ever in my life because, interestingly, I look back in the olden days at spring break. And the fact that Luke and I, the first week of spring break, were like, let's just take advantage of this chance to be at home. Before we were locked up, we were like, we don't need to go anywhere. Let's just stick tight to home. So my point is, I started in spring break being like, this is their time off.
Yeah.
So basically, I've been out of a rhythm of life for way too long. And that's okay. It's just, we're getting into a new kind of
and I feel
life
like,
rhythm.
I don't know, changing the subject a little bit when that happens is always good, you know?
Yeah, that's hard to do right now.
Yeah, just walk around the block or something.
Mm-hmm. Yesterday, I realized
Google worms and their castings and see if that sparks
their
joy.
Castings. Yeah.
Isn't that what it's called?
It is, but it just seems... Google up worm poop if you're feeling bored.
Well, who among us has done that, Rachel?
You can't trust me.
I like that now you're casting aspersions at people doing that.
Casting them, huh?
Oh no. It's not good. It's not good to get into the puns now.
Accidental punnage.
Oh, right. Right.
So I did today make King Arthur chocolate muffins, breakfast muffins. King Arthur chocolate breakfast muffins.
Sounds good.
Better than any cupcake you've ever had in your life.
Really?
But in no way more than eating a cupcake for breakfast. I can't recommend it as a health-conscious choice, but they are delicious.
Okay.
And I think if I need to make a chocolate cupcake at some point in the future, it will be one of these.
Is it a chocolate muffin?
It's a chocolate muffin with chocolate
chips in it.
Okay. And then you put pearl sugar on the top of it, which I actually like a million times better than... I don't care for cupcakes, actually, which is part of the system. That when I cast these aspersions on a cupcake, it's because I don't care for it that much.
Yeah.
But it's it's actually it's like an understated cupcake that's actually quite delicious. But I don't usually buy like store muffins.
What's pearl sugar?
Pearl sugar's like, the best way I can think to describe it is it's just like chunks. It's like the kosher salt of sugar, but it is solid white. So it's not like sugar in the raw.
It's not like Demerara.
No, it's not like that. It's more like if you could have confectioner's sugar made into little pebbles.
Where do you buy it?
I ordered it a long time ago.
There you go.
It's nice for moments like this. It's pretty on that dark chocolate muffin to have the white sugar on the top, but it's just like a crunchy sugar.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Anyways, that was our really health conscious move of the day.
Sounds like
that's been another element of my life right now is that food seems irrelevant and absurd and like nobody wants it except everyone does all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. So there's that. It's been, I think tonight we're going to do breakfast for dinner just in the hopes that we don't do that very often at all. Like maybe 3 times in our whole life.
Just trying to make it interesting.
Yeah, like I feel like we're really... I don't know. Food seems strangely unneeded to me right now.
Or just uninteresting, maybe?
Yeah, because you're not... It just feels like doing the... I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm not cooking that interesting of meals. That's probably part of the problem. No, I lie. We've been making great food. We have had a ton of fresh sourdough. Chloe made fresh pasta to go with us something or other, and we had that Smitten Kitchen Punjabi style lentil dal last night, which is really good.
I think we talked about that last time.
Oh, yeah. I said I was going to do it last time, and I didn't. We did something else. We changed the course.
Okay.
I think because I forgot it was going to be dinner until too late to cook the lentils. But tonight, I'm going to make like an oven omelet.
That sounds good.
And roasted potatoes. And
that sounds
the
good.
leftover chocolate muffins. Yeah. What are you making for dinner?
I think we're going to do a chicken white bean kale soup.
That sounds good.
That Hero requested, and she's like, I'll make it. I want to eat it. And I said, okay, you can make it. Sounds good to me. Nice. So I think she's going to do it. I left her with my card and said, go to the store and get the stuff while I'm gone. So
nice.
We'll see if she did.
So
she was doing
I made a Slovenian beef stew. It's not stew, soup. The other night.
Okay.
And that is different. And you should sometime try it.
Okay.
It's soup from a different approach.
Okay.
At least I was surprised by it because I don't, my ways. I don't usually use a soup recipe, but this is a totally other technique. Okay. You actually you can just cut up beef and simmer it.
Yeah.
And that makes the beef broth. There's no bones.
Oh, interesting.
Or anything. And I found this in one of my other cookbooks that I read.
Okay.
I think it might have been not home cooking or something. One of those ones that's like half memoir, half recipes. Anyways, where she called it beef tea, and I was kind of weirded out that there was a thing like that. So it was, and then I found out about this. Apparently in Slovenia they don't have a lot of imagination around their food. So this
kind of how I picture it.
Yeah, this is a food that apparently everyone eats all the time. Like this is one of the few foods they have. But usually they cook it and they drink the broth with noodles as like an early course, and then they eat the veg with the meat in one of the later ones.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, I thought so too. So I don't do it that way. But if you cube up, so I cubed up a roast little. And put it in the water and bring it to a simmer, and you have to skim the top. It'll get some frothy yuckus on it. And then add celery and onions and carrots. And I think I put like a bay leaf in it and some garlic, and you can do leeks, some cauliflower. Not interesting.
I
chopped it up
like
small.
Weird to me.
Yeah, it's bizarrely delicious. So good.
Okay.
And obviously salt and pepper. And then at the end of its journey, I think we put thyme on top of it, but I think we put some parsley in it. I mean, it's I treat it as a flexible endeavor. But then you make like dumpling, like I did like an egg dumpling noodle in it, which was it was really delicious. So I'm telling you, once the beef is tender and the broth is tasting good and everything, you just beat, I mean, I have a lot of people eating, it was a big pot of soup. I did beat maybe 7 eggs up, and then I put salt, pepper, and sage in the eggs, and then you add enough flour to have it be like...
dribbly?
No, I beat enough flour for it to be smooth, but where I could shape it between 2 spoons.
Oh, okay, so more like dough.
Not like it would hold its shape for a long time, but you could shape it. I couldn't let it put it on a cookie sheet. And then drop it into the low simmering soup.
Okay.
And then they'll float. It's like they puff up because of the egg and float.
Yeah.
So they're big egg dumpling noodles. They're really good. One thing I have to say is this soup should not be boiling hard, or you'll make your beef tough. Like you want it to simmer. Well,
this sounds interesting. We did steak tacos for lunch after church on Sunday. After home church on Sunday. And Oh my word, it was from Cooks Illustrated, and it was like to die for amazing. And so we had everybody, all the kids were in helping cook it, but it was so good. But it was the steak, but then this salsa kind of stuff that you put on top, which was sauteing green onions and jalapenos sort of together, but whole jalapenos, like with skin on.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness! And then you chop it all up and put lime and I mean, it was so good on the steak.
Send me the recipe.
It was really good.
Also, I feel bad that I don't know who you are, but somebody who listens to us shared with me, I think on Instagram. Maybe this is what happens: is I totally lose track of where it happened, so I can't thank the person straight out.
All right. Okay.
Their salsa recipe.
Ooh.
But the part that I'm really pleased with you for sharing with me, whoever you are, is the slicing cherry tomatoes in the food processor for a fresh salsa, because that...
Slicing them? Or like...
Yeah, like putting them in the chute. No, slicing them in the chute for a fresh salsa. Because cutting the tomatoes is far and away the most tedious part of the endeavor. Okay. And slicing them in the food processor, they're very pretty. It's a very pretty chopped tomato.
That sounds like a great idea.
So I did it. I think I did it in our mortar and pestle, where I just did some garlic and cilantro and salt ground up, and then added some lime juice, and then sliced a bunch of cherry tomatoes and folded it into the stuff I made in the pestle. It was beautiful and incredibly delicious.
That sounds really good.
So now I'm kind of a slice the cherry tomatoes in the food processor junkie. I've been doing a lot of that.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
Because you can do that in like 30 seconds. You can do 3 things of tomatoes. But cutting that many tomatoes up for something takes a lot more of a... Yeah. It's not that it's hard. It's just that it is like, how long do you want to stand around chopping up the stuff?
Speaking of cherry tomatoes, there's an Ina Garten recipe for a pasta, but this is a killer thing to do to cherry tomatoes. You halve them all and put them off in a bowl with olive oil, kind of to cover a bunch of garlic and red pepper flakes.
Oh, yeah.
And you just let them sit for, I don't know. I think she says do it a few hours. Even if you just do it for half an hour, those things are so good.
Yeah.
And then you throw them in to the pasta afterwards.
I have a recipe like
salt,
that for on the
salt
top of
and red pepper flakes. And, garlic.
On the top of a focaccia. If you make like a sourdough focaccia and then marinate tomatoes like that and put them all over the top when you're baking it.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good.
Real good. When did we turn into a food review?
When we started saying how disinterested we are in it right now.
We're like, nobody likes food. Give us a hot 30 minutes to talk about the food we just made.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so let's talk for the last little bit here about, I don't know, temptations to avoid right now.
Oh, I have one.
Okay.
I can think of one of those.
All right.
Not meeting, like, I just think that in so many ways, this is stripping us all of our excuses. And I think that many, many people use busyness as not busyness because they're being productive. Yeah. Busy because they're keeping from looking at the real issues. Yeah. And that as real issues are revealed to you, don't think of it as being like that's sad that you're seeing it, because they were there. Mm-hmm. And so if you're seeing that, like, especially in parenting, I mean, I know you all know this, but there's a way of not disciplining your children that just rushes them from one interesting thing to the next and tries to lure them into a good attitude with promises of happy meals and we're on our way to see our friends, won't that be fun? Yep. Don't, and even threatening to cancel things if they're not fun, because and having all of that taken away from you will make you feel crippled in your parenting. Like, it will make you feel like you are unable to get through this normally.
Yeah.
But it is such a mercy to have to look at it, to have to see what's happening. And I just think the temptation is to think that seeing the problems that were already there is some kind of a judgment on you, rather than a kindness and a mercy.
It's like you've been living with a really lumpy carpet.
Yeah.
And God just pulled it back to give you a real look-see at what's under there.
But I think that temptation is to take it personally. Like, because God doesn't care for me, he's making me have this time. Instead of, this is actually tender care for you.
I have to tell you something. This is just an anecdote that I was reminded of with my analogy there. Okay,
so was it Cinderella?
This isn't spiritual. This is me just telling a story on my children.
All right, I'm ready.
I'm upstairs in the laundry room, and I'm hauling something around. I had to get Judah to come up and help me drag something, or I don't know, but I needed his muscle, so I had him up there. And it's in the upstairs. It's this weird room that used to be an old screened-in sleeping porch, but then it got enclosed, and it's just an ambiguous place. And we moved the washer and dryer up to it a couple years ago. And it has on the floor those square, those tiles. What are they called? They're like linoleum tiles of some sort. But anyway, it's a black and white check. Yeah. Well, there's this tile in the middle of the room that it was like the corner had broken out of it, but it's not even at a threshold. It's just like a corner had chipped out of it. And, and I was like, this is not good. And I was kind of worried about it, like the structure, because I was like, is the washing machine like actually shaking the floor joist in a way that's bad, and then it's like causing the tile to crack up right there? And so every time I'm up there doing laundry, I sort of worry a little about that cracked, chipped out tile, and what does it mean? What does it mean? Anyway, so Judah's up there helping me haul around, and I'm like, I really am not sure about that tile. Just kind of, seems like a problem. And he goes, oh, that one over there? And I said, yeah. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's where I used to, like, stuff my money under it. He's like, he goes, I pulled up the tile and I would keep my money under it. And I was like, what? So I'm, like, dying. I'm, like, wheezing because I'm, like, thinking there's all this structural damage or something. And he goes and he pops the tile up, and he hasn't looked at it in years. It never occurred to me to try to lift the whole tile out. I just knew it would, like, a corner would come out. There's just a bunch of change under there that he had. And then I'm downstairs telling everyone, and then Judah goes and he fishes out, and then Hero goes, oh, I've been stealing that money. That's the one thing that made this weirder. And she's like, what? I mean, I saw quarters sticking out the edge, and I'm like, wow, there's a quarter. And then she's like, and then there were some others, so I pulled all the quarters out.
It's one of those perfect moments that you're not sure if what you feel is pride or shame.
I loved it.
You guys are amazing, and also, what have I done?
And I'm like, it's not even, Ben was just wheezing about it, but he's like, it's not even like at a threshold or in a corner. It's right in the middle of the room. What prompted our elementary age Judah to go pry up a tile right in the bang middle of the room?
Oh, that is really good.
Invest his money safely.
That is a blessing.
I know.
Yeah,
anyway.
So we derailed from a thought about a temptation. If you're tempted to hide your monies under a tile.
Just saying, this is your chance to clean out under the carpet, you guys. Or under the tile, as the case may be.
Right.
Whichever it is in your life.
Oh, I had a thought. Probably nobody wants this thought. No,
Okay.
I'm gonna do it anyways, guys.
Give
You're
it to
stuck
us.
with me now. You got nowhere to go. So, I was thinking about this earlier. I don't know when this came up. Okay. There's a couple different paths in dealing with the public crisis. Just want to bring this up that there's a couple paths that Christians should not be on.
Boy.
Yeah. One of them is the fear-mongering and panic attack mongering.
Yep.
That's not healthy, and you
No.
shouldn't be doing it as a Christian. There's this somewhere in there, there's a place that it's real good that we know Christians are supposed to be able to say at some point, and if I die, I die.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
we're not this afraid of death.
We're not scared of death.
Right, and so that is and not that we're all hoping to die right this minute. We're
No, you
hoping
don't have
to
to
be
be
productive.
kamikaze pilots.
We're hoping to be productive until God calls us home, but we're not afraid of getting called home. It's
Right.
not like that's the thing we can't take.
Yeah.
So there's that. But on the other side of that is, I think, fear-mongering about the fear-mongering. Like, as I think people who are resistant to the fear-mongering about the virus can indulge in their own fear-mongering about the problem of the panic causing other problems. But it's the same exact wrong response, just on a different side of the road.
Right.
And I was thinking, so any kind of fear-mongering, either fear-mongering that the virus is going to get us all, or fear-mongering that the panic surrounding the virus is going to get us all.
Right.
Neither of those are where we should be. And the other thing is, I just think that's interesting in how we deal with one another. And the other thing is, know yourself. Like, if you get whizzed into a fever of anxiety when you're reading all these update articles, or if the first thing you're doing is getting up to find out how deep the horror has sunk somewhere, then you probably are needed mentally elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And just know yourself to be like, that's not super fruitful for me.
No.
I'm going to give that to God and not.
No. And
I was struck by just like, God is not going to ask me to answer personally for the lost jobs in America.
No.
Or the problem in the economy. But how I behave today in my home, I will need to answer for that.
Yep.
And I don't want to not have an answer because I was worried about the stuff that the Lord doesn't want to. That is not my responsibility.
Yep.
I think
And I think just being able to take your fears, take your worries, take your anxieties, practice laying them down and walking away.
Yeah,
Give them to God.
Don't need that.
Because you can't carry it and He can. So give it to Him and then stop trying to stagger around with your own, set of projections about the future.
Well, and if we know anything, we know that, that the answer at this point is that none of us are actually in charge of the future.
Well, but how much has this interesting little thing that's unfolded, how much...
We didn't even know what it is.
I know.
So weird.
How much has it just proven the case that's so clear in Scripture that we don't know what tomorrow holds?
No, and then
You
if
can
you
say,
don't say, I'm going to
go to
here,
this city or that
or
city.
you can say, I'm going to plan my wedding.
Or I'm going to build my barn.
And
whatever
literally,
it is.
one of the things that was not even on the table a little bit ago was that your venue would call you and say you're no longer going to have a wedding with us. That's shocking.
Which of us knew we wouldn't be in church on Sunday? We'd be doing it from our living room.
Having the weird time at home
None
in
of
our
us
own private
could
worships.
have. So if we didn't know 3 weeks ago what today would hold, we don't know what 3 weeks from now holds either. And it doesn't matter how many graphs you look at. You actually don't know. And only God does. And He's actually writing this story so you can safely trust Him with it.
Amen. Because, and you think, whatever feeling, one thing I remember, we had a time where things were really, we had a moment of terrifying in our lives in our parenting lives. When Shad was not quite 2, he broke his femur. And he broke it in like a nothing accident. He was standing in a basket in a flexible plastic laundry basket he had been playing in. and he went to step out of it, and his toe got caught on the edge. And when he fell like with his caught leg kind of across his body in a funny way. So when he hit his knee, it just snapped his femur in half. And we were obviously, it took a minute to realize it did not look like something that would be an injury at all. Mm-hmm. So the way he was responding to it was really confusing. Because it was just silent for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I assumed that was because he was not actually hurt. I was in the kitchen when it happened, and I didn't respond right away. Anyways, the point is, it was awful because by the time I realized, when I couldn't figure out why he seemed so upset, because it was weird. And by the time I realized that his leg was broken, which was awful because I lay him on our bed. Like, I was holding him very carefully because I didn't know it, but I lay him on our bed and I could see in his little baby leg that where he had a little fat roll was like way more deeply shadowed on that leg because his bone had just snapped. It was awful. Anyways, took him to the hospital, and what we did not realize at the time, obviously, was that there was an ER doctor or someone who just sent it off to the social workers that he did not believe our story, that's how it happened. So, in retrospect, I can safely tell you that I don't think at any time, like, the doctor started a chain of stuff happening, but at no time was it actually, I don't think, were we really suspicioned. But there were social workers. There was enough to make us feel like we were exceedingly in a hot seat of terror. Yeah. Because we did not know at first that he had said that. So we had already had a social worker and a policeman come to our house that they told us it was a routine visit, they didn't. The hospital did. Somehow we thought that it was just long bone fracture under 2 years old. Someone has to come check it out. But we didn't realize he'd actually said he didn't believe our story. So it was a terrifying moment, and that it lasted for a couple weeks because they had to, it was like the paperwork shuffle and all this stuff, and it had some high points, like our orthopedic surgeon's secretary calling us to say, thought you should know there's a social worker trying to get your medical records without your consent. Wow. And that was when I thought I might throw up. Yeah. Because here's this child that we love so much and that we want to protect so much. And you have to notice that there are people with the authority to take him away from you. Mm-hmm. And we were suddenly vulnerable in a way that we absolutely never, ever would have thought we could be. We just were not. It was such a weird situation. And anyways. The reason I say all of this is that was an excessively prayerful time for me. More vividly prayerful than most times. Yeah. More smoking hot prayers of, oh my word. But the thing that was so good for me to recognize is that our love for this child and our desire to protect this child and our urgency to take care of him is only a faint shadow of how much God loves him, how much he protects him, how much this arrogance of wanting to, thinking that our children, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I felt like the mother who wants this child safely under my wing, but for some reason my wing is broken. Right now, we cannot protect him like this. And it was so good to have to reflect on a more loving father. Right. The shadow of whose wing is the only safe place. My protection pales in comparison with the protection of God the Father. Right. And that in this time, when we feel so incapable of protecting one another, our loved ones, all of a sudden our illusions of how we provide for our families and how we love our friends and our neighbors, all of the things that we thought we were doing well,
Right.
If we don't, when it's taken away from us, if we can't look at it as a time to see how much better God's provision is, how much kinder God is, how much more loving he is,
For sure.
then we're just going to be mourning our own loss. Like, even though that was a super hard parenting time for us, God's faithfulness to us was so constant, and we learned so much in that time, and it was so good at the same time as it was so hard. And I think, anyways, the reason I bring all that up is at the end of that story, just so you know, our wonderful orthopedic surgeon wrote the social worker, or whoever it was, a real fireball of an update in which he said that there is nothing about this fracture. Like, this fracture aligns with the parent's story. There is nothing about this to indicate abuse, as you well know, because apparently abuse fractures actually tend to happen on the ends of the bones. It's a different kind of a thing, and this was just right in the middle. It was a spiral snap. It was like, but he had been a really busy man, so he didn't get that message to us for like a whole week, but when he did, we were real glad to see it. Case closed. But the point, all I'm trying to say in all of this is that when we lose control, it should be a time for Christians to notice how little we ever had.
That's what I was going to say, Right? I think the illusion is ever thinking that you had the reins in the first place.
No, but the thing is loving and protecting your children is absolutely a God-honoring thing to be doing, as is providing for your family, as is loving your neighbors with hospitality, as is going to church and fellowshipping with people. But when circumstances take that away from us, it's what we have to be looking at is God's love, God's provision, God's faithfulness, and how much we were just only ever a little shadow.
It's meant to show us where our eyes should have been this whole time.
Exactly. And if you really can't see it, that's a good sign that there's, that there's some idolatry going on up in the, like, you're not looking to God the Father.
You've got time on your hands. You can clean house.
And like we said, God's drawing your attention to that because he loves you and because he's being kind. One other thing about that is that I was going to say is that talking with some friends, someone brought this up and I was like, oh man, that's a great point. And that is, this is the time of all the times people are asking for tips on how to get through a day at home with kids, tips for how to, we want tips, but it's not a tip you need. It's an underlying issue.
Yeah.
And you, I assume, our listeners know the Lord. But you have to recognize how many people around you don't. And that this is your big time to share it with them unabashedly, unashamedly. Let me go ahead and text your neighbor. Do you need a Bible? Like, can I pray for you? How can I, just don't be ashamed and remember that the hope that we have is in us. It's not in our in our routine or in our circumstances. It is in Christ and the Holy Spirit in us.
Right.
Apparently I can get on a real talk about this. I'm taking us over the limit of our podcast.
We're way over time. So we should get off the horn, but our tips are to marinate your cherry tomatoes and then slice them in the food processor.
Other
what
order,
happens.
reverse order.
I would.
I don't want to slice an oily tomato. I would slice and then oil it.
You don't know what will happen if you do it that way.
It might emulsify with the acid from the tomato and the oil.
Anything might happen.
What if you accidentally made like a tomato-ish mayonnaise if you did that? It could happen.
We'll try.
Anything's possible.
All right, guys.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.